The engine sputtered like a dying heartbeat. Then nothing. Just the endless whine of crickets and the distant howl of wind across the Nebraska plains. I slammed my palm against the steering wheel, cursing under my breath as the dashboard clock blinked 12:03 a.m., mocking my stupidity for not checking the gauge back in Omaha. Headlights pierced the darkness behind me, red and blue strobes slicing through the black like accusations, and my stomach dropped because I knew exactly what came next. A ticket I couldn't afford, a night in cuffs if the cop decided I looked shady enough. Officer Evan Hargrove stepped out of his cruiser with the slow, deliberate grace of someone who'd seen too many bad decisions on this stretch of I-80. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with a jawline that could cut glass and eyes like storm clouds, gray and unreadable under the brim of his hat. "Evening," he drawled, his voice low and laced with that Midwestern drawl that made everything sound like a secret. "Ran out of gas? Or just sightseeing the shoulder?" I laughed, but it came out brittle, scraped raw from the exhaustion of driving cross-country to escape a life that felt like a noose. "Guilty as charged. Name's Dylan Reese." Between places. The words hung there, vulnerable, and I hated how they exposed me. 28, freshly dumped by a boyfriend who said I was too much drama, hauling my ass from Chicago to Denver with nothing but a duffel bag and dreams of starting over. Evan shone his flashlight into the car, not aggressively, but enough to make my pulse jackhammer. He lingered on the passenger seat, where a dog-eared copy of The Great Gatsby lay open to the part about green lights and unreachable shores. "Between places. Huh? Sounds like a story." He straightened, clipping the light back to his belt. "You got ID? And don't worry, I'm not here to bust your balls. Just protocol." I fished out my wallet, handing over the license with fingers that trembled just a bit. As he ran it through his radio, static crackling like old bones, he leaned against my door, casual as if we were shooting the shit at a bar. "First time on this road?" he asked, and when I nodded, he chuckled softly. "Folks think it's straight shot to freedom, but it's full of detours. Like that storm rolling in from the west, gonna dump rain like Judgment Day." The radio chirped clear. "No warrants. No flags." He handed back the card, but instead of the usual lecture, his gaze held mine a beat too long. "Here's the deal, Dylan. I could call a tow. Leave you here to wait 3 hours for AAA, if you've even got service. Or," he trailed off, glancing at the empty road, then back at me with something flickering in those gray eyes. "Curiosity? Pity? You could ride with me to the next station. My shift's ending anyway. Your call." It was a choice wrapped in temptation, the kind that doesn't come with fine print but screams "what if" in neon. I should have said no, stranger danger, all that, but the rain started then, fat drops smacking the windshield like impatient fingers, and his offer felt like a lifeline tossed into the void. "Right it is," I said, grabbing my bag. "Lead the way, officer." We slid into his cruiser, the air thick with the scent of leather and his cologne, something woodsy, like pine after rain. He didn't turn on the radio, just drove in that heavy silence broken only by the wiper's rhythmic thwack. I stole glances at him, the way his hands gripped the wheel, veins standing out like rivers on a map, the faint scar above his left eyebrow that begged for a story. "So, what brings a city boy like you out here?" he finally asked, eyes on the road but voice pulling me in. "Running," I admitted, surprising myself. "From a job that chewed me up, a guy who spit me out. Thought Denver might fix it, new skyline, new me." The words tumbled free, unfiltered, and I braced for the shutdown, The polite nod that ends deep talks before they start. But Evan just hummed, thoughtful. Denver's got its own ghosts. Me? I'm from a nowhere town off this highway, Elmwood. Grew up fixing tractors, dodging tornadoes. Joined the force to, I don't know, prove something. He paused at a stoplight, the red glow painting his face in crimson. Sometimes running's just circling back. The gas station loomed like a fluorescent oasis, pumps glowing under buzzing lights. He pulled up, killed the engine. Fuel's on me, he said, swiping his card before I could protest. As the pump clicked, he leaned against the cruiser, arms crossed. Look, Dylan, this might sound crazy, but if you're not in a rush, Elmwood's got a decent diner. Open late. Pie's killer. No strings. My heart stuttered. It was midnight plus on a Tuesday, and here was this cop, straight-laced uniform screaming authority, offering pie and conversation like it was the most normal thing. But his eyes said otherwise. A spark. Question. The same hunger I'd felt staring at the stars back in my stalled car. Pie sounds dangerous, I teased, pulse racing. But I'm game. The diner was a relic, checkered floors, vinyl booths scarred by decades of small-town confessions. We slid into one by the window, rain sheeting the glass like a veil. Mabel, the waitress with beehive hair and a smoker's rasp, poured coffee without asking and slid menus our way. Evan, honey, you eaten with strays again? She winked at me. Only the good ones, he shot back, and the easy banter hit me like warmth after cold. We ordered cherry pie, a la mode, because why not, and as forks scraped plates, the stories spilled. He talked about his dad, a farmer lost to cancer when Evan was 16, leaving him to raise his kid sister on scholarships and grit. I shared the raw edges. Coming out in high school to a family that pretended it didn't happen. The ex who promised forever then bailed for normalcy. Laughter mixed with the ache. And by the time the pot was empty, it felt like we'd known each other in another life. You believe in signs? Evan asked, tracing the rim of his mug. Outside, thunder grumbled, lightning forking the sky. I met his gaze, the air between us charged. Used to think they were bullshit. But tonight, running out of gas feels like the universe saying pay attention. He smiled then, slow, real, the kind that crinkles eyes and softens edges. Then let's pay attention. His hand brushed mine on the table. Deliberate, electric. No pulling back. Just that touch. Promising detours worth the risk. We left the diner tangled in conversation. My car refueled and tailed by his cruiser back to the highway. At the on-ramp, he pulled over again, stepping out into the downpour. I rolled down my window, rain misting my face. Drive safe, Dylan. And hey, if Denver doesn't stick, Elmwood's got room for wanderers. Only if the tour guides included, I called, heart-pounding. He grinned through the wet. Deal. Then he was gone, taillights fading into the storm, leaving me with a number scribbled on a napkin and the wild certainty that midnight choices could rewrite everything. The next 3 days blurred into a haze of asphalt and anticipation. I made it to Denver by dawn, crashing at a cheap motel off Colfax with peeling wallpaper and a bed that sagged like regret. Job hunt started. Barista gigs, warehouse shifts, anything to pay for the new me fantasy. But my phone buzzed constantly, Evan's texts lighting up the screen like beacons. Made it, the first one read. Storm's clearing, wish you could see the sunrise here. I fired back photos of the Rockies' jagged teeth against pink skies. He sent ones of Elmwood's endless fields, golden under harvest moon. By day 4, the pull was magnetic. Screw it, I muttered to my reflection in the motel's foggy mirror, stubble shadowing my jaw, eyes bright with recklessness. I texted, weekend off. Room in Elmwood for a city boy? His reply, doors open. Bring your appetite. The drive back east was sun-soaked, radio blasting Springsteen, Thunder Road. Fittingly, Elmwood unfolded like a postcard from simpler times. White steepled church, grain elevators piercing the sky, Main Street lined with pickups and porches. Evan's place was a modest rancher on the edge of town, blue shutters framing windows that glowed warm as I pulled up gravel crunching under tires. He met me on the steps. No uniform, just faded jeans hugging his thighs, a flannel shirt rolled to elbows revealing forearms dusted with dark hair. You came, he said, voice rough with something unspoken, pulling me into a hug that smelled of soap and home. It lingered, bodies aligning in that perfect puzzle click. Before he stepped back, cheeks flushed. Come on. Dinner's waiting. Inside was lived-in comfort. Scuffed wood floors, bookshelves crammed with dog-eared thrillers and a worn Bible from his ma. He grilled steaks on the back patio, stars wheeling overhead as cicadas sang backup. Wine flowed, cheap red from the co-op, and so did the truths. Never done this, he admitted over dessert, his boot nudging mine under the table. Brought someone here. Folks in town. They talk. And the job? One wrong look, and it's whispers to write-ups. I reached for his hand, thumb stroking his knuckles. Then we keep it quiet. Just us, under the radar. But even as I said it, doubt flickered. How long could a secret burn without scorching? That night, we crossed the line slow and sure. His bedroom was simple. Iron bedstead, quilt from his grandma, moonlight slanting through blinds. Kisses started tentative, tasting of wine and want, then deepened into urgency, hands mapping skin, breaths mingling like prayers. Evan was all contrasts. Gentle fingers unbuttoning my shirt, then rough grip on my hips as I arched beneath him. Dylan, he whispered against my throat, name a vow, as we moved together in the dark, body speaking what words couldn't yet. Morning brought coffee and lazy tangles in sheets, his head on my chest, fingers tracing tattoos I'd inked to claim my skin. Stay till Monday, he murmured, voice sleep-thick. Try and stop me. We spent the day wandering. Farmer's market for fresh corn, a hike along the Platte where cottonwoods whispered secrets. Laughter came easy, touches stolen in shadows, his hand in my back pocket, my lips brushing his neck when no one watched. Felt like the start of something epic, a romance scripted for silver screens. But Elmwood had eyes. By Sunday, whispers slithered. Mabel at the diner winking too knowingly when we grabbed lunch. A patrol buddy of Evan's clapping his shoulder with a "Who's the city slicker?" that landed like a probe. Evan brushed it off, but tension coiled in his shoulders, a storm brewing behind those gray eyes. That night, as rain lashed the windows again, we made love fierce and forgetting, clinging like the world might end. I could do this forever, I gasped, his weight pinning me, sweat slick and perfect. Me too, he breathed, but his voice cracked, foreshadowing the fracture. Monday came too soon. I kissed him goodbye in the driveway, promising a return soon. The drive to Denver hummed with playlists of the national, aching anthems for new loves, but by the city limits, my phone lit up with a call from an unknown number. I answered, heart sinking at the voice. Sharp, female, laced with Nebraska steel. This is Sheriff Harlan. We need to talk about Officer Hargrove. The station was a squat brick building reeking of stale coffee and bureaucracy. Harlan was mid-40s, buzzcut and no nonsense, her badge gleaming like a warning. Sit, she said, gesturing to a metal chair that bit into my thighs. Evan's a good kid, best deputy I've got. But this complication. Photos from the market. Folks talking. My mouth went dry. Complication? We're just friends. She arched a brow, sliding a grainy print across the desk. Us by the corn stand, my arm slung casual around his waist. Innocent, but in Elmwood, incendiary. Look, Reese. I don't give a damn who you sleep with. But the town's Bible belt tight. One complaint, and its internal affairs sniffing around. Evan's got a promotion on the line chief in Lincoln. Don't tank it. Guilt twisted like a knife. I won't. It's his call. She leaned forward, eyes softening fractionally. Make it the right one. Then, back on the road. Evan's texts waited. Miss you already. Drive safe. I typed back you too. Cowboy. But hit send with lead in my gut. That night in my motel. Sleep evaded. Dreams tangled with badges and betrayals. Weeks stretched into a rhythm. Weekends in Elmwood. Stolen hours in Denver motels when his shifts allowed. Love deepened in fragments. Late-night calls where he'd read poetry from his shelf, Leaves of Grass. Whitman's wildness mirroring us. Or me surprising him with Chicago deep dish that ended in flour-dusted kisses. He opened up about the closet, out to his sister, but the force? A minefield. It's not shame, he'd say, tracing my collarbone. It's survival. I believed him, until the betrayal bloomed slow and poisonous. It started with distance, texts lagging, excuses piling, overtime, family stuff. Then, a weekend canceled, Ma's not well. Rain check, worry nod, but I drove anyway, flowers in hand for his mom, peace offering. The rancher was dark, truck gone. I waited on the porch, rain starting again, until headlights swept the drive. Not his truck. A sedan, sleek and out of place. The door opened, and a woman stepped out, blonde, poised, 30s with a smile like polished marble. She froze at the sight of me, then recovered. You must be the handyman Evan mentioned. Dylan, I corrected, voice flat. And you, Lauren. His fiancé. The word landed like a gut punch. Fiancé. The air sucked out of me. She chattered, nervous, filling silence, about their long engagement, how he'd proposed last Christmas, the wedding set for spring. He's been so stressed with work. This place needs fixing up. You know, I nodded numbly, backing away as Evan's truck rumbled up, gravel spitting. He killed the engine, face paling at the tableau, me, her, the lie sprawling between. Dylan, wait, he jumped out, but I was already at my car, door slamming like finality. You bastard, I hissed, tears hot and furious. Fiancé? All those nights. It's not. He grabbed my arm, Lauren hovering like a ghost. It's cover. For the job. The town. She knows about us. It's fake. Dylan. Please. Fake. The word curdled. Cover? You let me think we were building something real. While you played house. Rain poured now, soaking us through. I bared my soul. And you. This, his eyes shattered. I was scared. Of losing everything. But you're not everything. You're the everything. Lauren cleared her throat. Evan, maybe I should. Go, he snapped, not unkindly. She retreated inside, door clicking shut. I wrenched free. Choice. Remember, midnight, your offer. Well, here's mine. Fix this, or I'm gone for good. He reached again, desperate. Don't. I love you. The words hung. First time spoken, but too late, poisoned. I drove into the storm, wipers frantic, heart in shreds. The fallout was apocalypse-low. Back in Denver, I quit the motel for a studio walk-up in Lodo, brick walls echoing my isolation. Work numbed, slinging lattes at a hipster cafe, smiling through fog. Evan's calls stacked like unanswered prayers. Texts evolved from pleas to silence. I blocked him, then unblocked in weak moments, scrolling old photos. Us under cottonwoods, his laugh frozen in pixels. 2 months in, the bomb dropped via a mutual friend, Mabel, who'd friend me on Facebook after that diner night. Town's talking. Evan outed himself. Quit the force. Lauren called off the engagement. Messy. Honey. My chest caved. I drove to Elmwood unannounced. Pulse thunderous. The rancher looked abandoned. Porch light burned out. Yard overgrown. But his truck sat there, and when I knocked, he answered, unshaven, eyes hollowed, flannel hanging loose on a frame thinned by neglect. Dylan. My name broke on his lips. A sob held back. You idiot, I said, stepping inside without invite. The air was stale, dishes piled, a half-empty whiskey bottle on the coffee table. You threw it all away? He sank onto the couch, head in hands. Had to. After you left. Date me alive. Told Harlan everything. She didn't fire me, transferred me to desk duty. But the town? Whispers turned to shouts. Windows egged. Tires slashed. Lauren bailed. Said she couldn't fake it anymore. Guilt and fury warred. And me? You could have called. Explained. I did. 100 times. His voice cracked. But you deserved better than my cowardice. So I fixed it the only way came out. Loud. At the VFW hall, beer in hand, told 'em all. Yeah, I'm gay. Deal with it. I laughed. Bitter sharp. Heroic. Stupid. What now? He looked up. Raw. Alone. Unless. The unless dangled. Electric. I crossed the room, dropping to my knees before him, hands framing his face, stubble rough, tears tracking. Unless what? Evan, you broke us. I know. His forehead pressed to mine, breath sinking. But I'd rebuild brick by brick. For you, the kiss started as salt and sorrow, then ignited fierce, forgiving, bodies remembering. We tumbled to the floor, clothes shedding like old skins, making love with the urgency of second chances. His touches mapped apologies, my moans absolved. Dawn found us tangled on the couch, his head on my thigh. Come to Denver, I whispered. Start over. Together, he nodded, fingers interlacing. No more secrets, but life isn't linear. Conflicts lingered. Harlan called. Evan's transfer finalized. A quiet exit to a desk in the city. Town backlash simmered. Lost friends. A sister's worried calls. Folks mean well, but change scares them. We moved slow, him crashing on my futon. Job hunting for something badge-free. Maybe security at a warehouse. Climax hit on a crisp October night, 6 months in. Denver's Pride Parade pulsed downtown. Rainbow flags snapping. Bass thumping from floats. We'd planned to march, hand in hand, our first public stride. But as we joined the throng, a knot of counter-protesters surged. Signs screaming Sodom and Gomorrah, faces twisted in hate. One broke through, burly guy in a trucker hat, shoving Evan hard. "Freak, go back to your sin." Evan stumbled, badge instincts flaring. He squared up, voice steady. "Back off, man. This is peace." The guy swung, fist glancing Evan's jaw. Chaos erupted, shouts, security swarming. I lunged, tackling the asshole, adrenaline singing. Punches flew, mine landing solid on his gut, until cops, real ones, hauled us apart. Evan pulled me off, blood on his lip, eyes wild. "Dylan, stop. Not worth it." We retreated to an alley, breaths ragged, crowd's roar fading. He cupped my face, thumb swiping a cut on my cheek. "You could have been hurt. So could you." Tears mixed with rain, drizzle starting again. "This world's not kind, but damn if we don't fight for it." He kissed me there, amid graffiti walls and dumpster shadows, fierce and unashamed. Sirens wailed distant, but we stood unbroken, hands clasped like anchors. The humanistic turn came gradual, woven in quiet victories. Evan landed a gig training security at a community center, teaching de-escalation, turning his cop grit to good. I wrote, finally, short stories for a lit mag, tales of midnight highways and choices reclaimed. We adopted a mutt from the shelter, a scruffy terrier named Scout, who chewed shoes but mended our mornings with wet-nosed nudges. Elmwood healed in patches. His sister visited, bringing pie and tentative hugs. Mabel texted invites to diner reunions. Not all forgave, some doors stayed shut, but the open ones widened, proving grace in increments. 1 year post-midnight, on that same Nebraska stretch, we pulled over not for gas, but memory. Storm clouds brewed, but sun slanted golden. Evan knelt in the gravel, ring glinting, simple silver band, engraved detour worth it. "Marry me?" he asked, voice steady as the plains. I pulled him up, kissing deep. Yes. Every detour, we drove on, hands linked over the console, toward whatever horizon called. Love, we'd learned, wasn't absence of storm, it was choosing the ride. Every time. The engine sputtered like a dying heartbeat. Then nothing. Just the endless whine of crickets and the distant howl of wind across the Nebraska plains.